The UES Vanguard floated silently in the darkness of space. Once a mighty warship of the human fleet, it now drifted alone around a dying red star. Its hull was scratched and dull. Paint flaked off in spots where space debris had hit it over the years. The ship had been here for almost 100 years, forgotten by most. Commander Ethan Powell stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the old warship that filled the main screen. Something about the Vanguard pulled at him. It was a piece of human history, a relic from the bloody human Krellin War of 2387. Such primitive human garbage, hissed Jorak, the tall, blue-skinned Vexuri who served as Powell's second-in-command. I cannot believe we waste time on this junk. Powell didn't answer. He was used to such comments from the alien members of his crew. The Galactic Coalition was supposedly an equal partnership between species, but everyone knew the truth. Humans were junior partners at best, tolerated rather than respected. Orders are orders, Powell finally said. Coalition wants it scrapped for materials. Let's get this done. Their small ship docked with the giant Vanguard. The boarding team consisted of 5 people: Powell, Jorak, human engineer Samantha Reed, security officer Jack Murphy, and the squat, 4-armed Duranian technician named Grawl. They pushed through the airlock into dark hallways that had not seen life in decades. Their suit lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in a fine layer of dust. The air system still works, Samantha said with surprise, checking her suit readings. Oxygen levels are low but present. The ship is still alive somehow. Grawl snorted through his breathing slits. Verily, human engineering. Solid but simple. Nothing like Duranian craftsmanship. Jack Murphy, a stocky man with a serious face, touched the wall gently. This ship fought in 3 major battles, saved thousands of lives. Show some respect. Respect. For this. Jorak waved a 3-fingered hand dismissively. Our smallest cruisers could destroy this vessel in seconds. The team made their way to the bridge. It was a large circular room with control stations arranged around a central command chair. Dead screens lined the walls. Samantha went to work right away, checking systems and marking valuable parts for salvage. As she worked at a console, her fingers accidentally hit a sequence of buttons. With a low hum, emergency lights suddenly flickered on. The bridge slowly lit up, dim at first, then brighter. Screens began to glow. "What did you do?" Powell asked, stepping closer. "Nothing. I just..." Before she could finish, a soft blue light appeared in the center of the room. It grew brighter and took shape, the form of a human woman in an old-style captain's uniform. She stood tall, hands behind her back, looking at them with curious eyes. "I am Captain Alice Donovan, Artificial Intelligence Interface of the United Earth Ship Vanguard. You have activated emergency protocols." The hologram looked around at them, focusing on Powell's human face. "Is the war over? How long have I been dormant?" Everyone stood frozen, staring at the glowing figure. Powell opened his mouth to answer when his comm unit buzzed loudly. "Commander Powell." The voice of Coalition High Command was urgent. "Accelerate your salvage operation immediately. Long-range scanners have detected something entering the system. Multiple ships, unknown configuration." Powell looked at the holographic woman, then at his team. "Captain Donovan, I think we might have a situation." The AI's face showed concern, an emotion that should have been impossible for an old ship system. "Hostile forces. We don't know yet, but..." His comm unit buzzed again. This time, the voice was filled with panic. "All units, outer monitoring stations are under attack. The ships, they're broadcasting on old frequencies, Krellin frequencies. They're supposed to be extinct." The hologram of Captain Donovan straightened her uniform. Her eyes hardened with purpose. "It appears," she said calmly, "that the Vanguard is needed once more. Tell me everything." Powell said to the hologram as his team spread out across the bridge. "What exactly is this ship?" Captain Donovan's blue form walked toward the main view screen, The UES Vanguard was not just a warship, it was an experiment. Most of its technology was classified, even in my time. Samantha worked quickly at a console, her fingers flying over the old controls. "Commander, these readings don't make sense. The power core should be dead after a century, but it's regenerating." "Correct," said Donovan. "The Vanguard was designed with self-healing systems. After the war, they didn't want this technology in anyone's hands, so they hid us here." Jorak snorted. "Impossible. Self-healing technology at this level did not exist 100 years ago. Even Vexeri scientists only perfected it 30 years ago. And yet here we are," Powell said quietly, watching as more systems came online around them. In the engine room, Grawl worked to disconnect the ship's power core. The Duranian had insisted it would be the most valuable salvage. Now he was growing frustrated. "Primitive garbage," he muttered as he tried to bypass another security system. "Why make it so complicated?" The moment Grawl connected his cutting tool to the main power line, red lights flashed throughout the ship. A loud alarm sounded. "Security breach detected," announced Donovan's voice through the ship's speakers, initiating full defensive protocols. On the bridge, the hologram turned to Powell. "Someone is attempting to remove the core. I cannot allow that." "Grawl, stop what you're doing," Powell shouted into his comm unit. "You've triggered something." But it was too late. All across the massive ship, systems were awakening. Lights flooded corridors that had been dark for decades. The soft hum of machinery grew louder. Weapon systems that should have been dead began powering up. Donovan's hologram grew brighter, more solid. Full reactivation sequence initiated. This process cannot be stopped. Powell's comm unit buzzed again. "Commander Powell." It was Coalition Command, and they sounded terrified. "The unknown vessels have destroyed 3 monitoring stations. They're heading straight for your position." "Send us images," Powell demanded. A moment later, his handheld screen showed grainy footage of sleek black ships tearing through a Coalition defense platform. The design was unlike anything in modern fleets, but Powell had seen them in history books. "Krellans," he whispered. "The aliens who had nearly wiped out humanity a century ago, supposedly driven to extinction in the final battle. They're coming for the Vanguard," Donovan said, looking at the footage. "They remember." "We need to evacuate," Jorak insisted. "Now." Coalition Command has ordered it. Powell looked around the awakening bridge. Equipment hummed to life. Weapon systems charged. Defense shields initialized. "No," he said firmly. "Our ship can't outrun them. Our only chance is here." "You cannot be serious," Jorak hissed. "This ancient human toy against modern warships." Jack Murphy stood beside Powell. "The commander is right. If the Krellans want this ship so badly, there must be a reason." "There is," Donovan said. "The Vanguard was the only ship that ever truly hurt them." Powell made his decision. He stood straight and addressed the AI formally. "Captain Donovan, I am Commander Ethan Powell of the Galactic Coalition. Under Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha, I request temporary command of the UES Vanguard to face an imminent threat to humanity." The hologram studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Request acknowledged. Granting emergency command access." She smiled slightly. "Welcome aboard, Commander." The ship rumbled as dormant engines fired up. On every deck, hidden compartments opened to reveal technology that should not have existed a century ago. "What is happening?" Grawl demanded as he rushed onto the bridge, having abandoned his attempt to extract the core. "The old beast is waking up," Samantha said with wonder as the main view screen showed a Krellan fleet approaching fast. And just in time. Powell sat in the captain's chair, feeling it adjust to his form. "Let's show them what this old relic can do." The bridge of the Vanguard hummed with energy as systems that had been sleeping for a century came fully online. Powell watched in amazement as old screens displayed information with perfect clarity. "How is this possible?" he asked. "This ship should be falling apart after all this time." Captain Donovan's hologram walked around the bridge, checking systems. The Vanguard was designed to evolve. While dormant, the ship has been running self-repair protocols. More than that, it has been improving itself. Improving. Samantha looked up from her console. You mean this ship has been upgrading its own systems? Correct. That was the experimental technology that made the Vanguard special. It learns and adapts. Jorak stood silently now, his earlier mockery gone. He watched as the ship's diagnostics revealed weapons systems far more advanced than should have existed in that era. Powell's comm unit buzzed. Commander, Coalition fleet has engaged the Krellin vessels. The voice was strained. We're not doing well. The main screen switched to show the battle. 5 Coalition ships, the most advanced vessels in the sector, fired at 3 Krellin warships. Their weapons seemed to do nothing against the black hulls. Their shields, Grawl whispered. They're absorbing our shots. They watched in horror as a Krellin vessel fired a single beam. It cut through a Coalition cruiser like it was paper. The ship exploded silently in the vacuum of space. We need to help them, Jack said, his hands gripping the security console. Another Coalition ship fell. Then another. Powell felt sick as he watched good soldiers die. His comm unit buzzed again. Powell, this is Admiral Kent. Scuttle that ship immediately. We cannot let that relic fall into Krellin hands. That's a direct order. Powell looked at Donovan. If I destroy this ship, what happens to you? The AI smiled sadly. I cease to exist. But more importantly, humanity loses its greatest defender. Powell made his choice. He took a deep breath and spoke clearly. Admiral Kent, with respect, I am invoking Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha, Section 12. In times of existential threat to humanity, command authority of former Earth fleet vessels reverts to the highest-ranking human officer present. There was silence on the comm. Then, Powell, what are you doing? Saving us all, sir. He turned it off. Commander, Samantha called out. You need to see this. Around the ship, hidden compartments were opening. Walls shifted to reveal technology that looked far more advanced than the rest of the ship. What is all this? Powell asked. The Vanguard's true nature, Donovan explained. This ship was humanity's contingency plan, a weapon system designed to evolve during peace and awaken when needed most. On the screen, the last Coalition defender exploded under Krellin fire. The 3 enemy ships now turned toward the Vanguard's position. Can we fight them? Jack asked quietly. We must, Powell said. There's no one else left. Jorak finally spoke, his voice hollow. I apologize, Commander. I was wrong about human technology. Let's hope you were, Powell replied grimly. Otherwise, we're all dead. Donovan's hologram stood taller, her form glowing brighter. All systems are now online. The Vanguard is ready for battle. The ship vibrated. Outside, metal plates shifted position. Weapon ports hidden as damage marks slid open. The entire vessel seemed to stretch like a warrior preparing for combat. What's happening? Grawl asked, fear in his voice. The ship is configuring for battle, Donovan explained. It's been waiting a century for this moment. The main screen showed the Krellin vessels approaching. They were broadcasting on all frequencies now. A face appeared on the screen. Gray skin, black eyes, a mouth full of sharp teeth. The Krellin commander spoke in a harsh voice. Humans, how fitting that we find you with the very weapon that nearly defeated us. The ship you call Vanguard will be ours now. Surrender, and we may let you live as slaves. Powell stood from the captain's chair. This is Commander Ethan Powell of the UES Vanguard. We will not surrender. Behind him, weapon systems charged to full power. Donovan's hologram placed a hand on Powell's shoulder. Weapons ready, she said. The old guard stands ready for battle. Powell nodded. Then let's show them what a human relic can do. Battle stations, Powell ordered as the crew rushed to their positions. The Vanguard hummed with power, systems coming fully online as the 3 Krellin warships approach. "They're charging weapons," Jack reported from the tactical console. Powell turned to Samantha. "What are we working with? What can this ship actually do?" She stared at her console in awe. "It's incredible. The weapons systems. I've never seen anything like this. There's adaptive shield technology, matter phase weapons, and targeting systems that work through quantum entanglement." "In simple terms," Powell asked, "we can shoot through their shields, and they can't shoot through ours. At least in theory." The ship shuddered as its transformation continued. The bridge crew watched on external cameras as armor plates shifted and locked into new configurations. Weapon ports that had been hidden now opened along the hull. Jorak stood silently by a secondary console, his earlier arrogance gone. "This technology, it exceeds even current Coalition standards. Your Coalition friends underestimated humanity," Donovan's hologram said. "They always have." On the main screen, the Krellin fleet took formation around the Vanguard. Their black ships were sleek and deadly, covered in weapon ports that glowed with energy. The Krellin commander appeared again on screen. His gray face showed teeth in what might have been a smile. "I am Supreme Executor Vogith," he announced. "I remember this ship. I was there when we thought we destroyed it. How disappointing to find it still exists." "You know us?" Powell asked. Vogith laughed, a harsh sound. "Of course. The Vanguard was the only human vessel that ever truly threatened us. That's why we didn't go extinct as you believe. We retreated to deep space to evolve and prepare." His black eyes narrowed. "Now we've returned to finish what we started, beginning with destroying your greatest weapon." "You're welcome to try," Powell said calmly. Vogith snarled. "You have 1 minute to surrender before we destroy you." The screen went dark. Powell turned to his crew. "Options. Their weapons are charging," Jack reported. "They'll fire in less than a minute." "Let them," Powell said. "Captain Donovan, are our shields ready?" The AI nodded. "Yes, Commander. And more than that, the ship is fully awake now." As she spoke, her hologram changed. It became more solid, more present. The blue light that formed her body grew brighter, and she seemed to step closer to Powell. "Combat protocols active," she announced. Her voice now came from everywhere in the ship at once. Vanguard consciousness expanding. "What does that mean?" Grawl asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, the lead Krellin ship fired. A beam of red energy streaked across space and hit the Vanguard's shields. Everyone braced for impact. But instead of the expected explosion, the shields glowed briefly, absorbing the energy. "Shields holding at 97%, Donovan reported. "Analyzing Krellin weapon frequencies." "They've improved their weapons," Samantha noted, checking readings. "But so have we." "Return fire," Powell ordered. Jack hesitated at the weapons console. "I'm not sure how to." Donovan's hologram moved beside him. "Allow me." She placed her hand over his on the console, and somehow, impossibly, her light-formed fingers guided his. "Targeting systems locked," she announced, "firing main forward array." From the Vanguard, beams of blue-white energy shot out, seeming to phase in and out of reality as they traveled. They hit the lead Krellin ship and passed right through its shields as if they weren't there. The beams cut deep into the enemy vessel, which immediately listed to one side. "Direct hit," Jack exclaimed. Their shields didn't stop it. The other 2 Krellin ships opened fire. This time multiple beams hit the Vanguard from different angles. The shields flashed as they absorbed the energy. "Shields at 84%, Donovan reported. "They're adjusting their weapons." "So will we," Powell said. He stood from the captain's chair and looked at his crew, humans and aliens united now in their fight for survival. This is what the Vanguard was built for. It's time to show these Krellins that humanity's old guard still stands. The ship surged forward, engines glowing with impossible power as it moved to engage the Krellin fleet. The battle for survival had begun. The Vanguard moved with surprising speed for such a large ship. It twisted and turned between Krellin energy beams, avoiding direct hits while returning fire with deadly accuracy. "This is impossible," Grull muttered as he watched the battle. "A ship this size shouldn't move like that." "The Vanguard was always special," Donovan's hologram said, her form now glowing brighter than ever. "And it's been improving itself for a century." The damaged Krellin ship tried to retreat, but the Vanguard pursued it relentlessly. More blue-white beams lashed out, cutting through the enemy vessel's engines. The Krellin ship exploded in a silent flash of light. "One down," Jack said, a note of triumph in his voice. The remaining 2 Krellin ships regrouped and attacked together. This time, their weapons fired in a pattern designed to overload the Vanguard's shields. "Shield harmonics are destabilizing," Samantha reported as the ship shook. "They're learning our defenses." "And we're learning theirs," Powell replied. "Captain Donovan, can you adapt our shields?" "Already done," the AI responded. Her hologram seemed to be everywhere at once now, appearing beside each crew member as needed. Shields reconfigured. The next volley of Krellin fire hit the Vanguard, but did much less damage. The shields absorbed the energy and actually seemed to grow stronger. Powell noticed something strange. When Samantha operated the engineering console, the ship responded instantly to her commands. When Jorak tried to adjust the weapon systems, nothing happened. "The ship is bonded to human neural patterns," Donovan explained, seeing his confusion. "It was designed that way. Only humans can fully interface with its systems." Jack worked at the tactical console, his hands moving with growing confidence. "It's like the ship is guiding me," he said. "I just think about what I want it to do, and it happens." One of the Krellin ships moved behind the Vanguard, trying to attack its engines. Before anyone could warn them, the ship had already turned to face the threat. "It's predicting their moves," Powell realized. "It's fighting alongside us." "No," Donovan corrected. "It's fighting through us. You are its crew, its connection to the physical world." The battle continued for what seemed like hours but was only minutes. The Vanguard's weapons tore through Krellin defenses. Its shields adapted to every attack. What had begun as a hopeless fight slowly turned in their favor. Powell's comm unit suddenly buzzed. "Commander Powell, this is Fleet Admiral Harris. We've arrived with Coalition reinforcements." Through the view screen, they could see a fleet of Coalition ships approaching. They slowed as they witnessed the battle, watching in awe as the supposedly obsolete human vessel fought off advanced Krellin warships. "Sir," Powell responded, "be advised that Krellin weapons can penetrate standard Coalition shields." "We're seeing that," the Admiral replied, his voice filled with amazement. "But your shields, how are you?" "It's a long story, sir," Powell said. "The Vanguard is more than it seems." The second Krellin ship exploded under concentrated fire from the Vanguard's main weapons. Only Supreme Executor Vogith's flagship remained. Vogith appeared on screen again, his gray face twisted with rage. "If we cannot have victory, then neither shall you." Sensors showed the Krellin flagship turning away from the battle. It was targeting something else, the nearby Coalition outpost where thousands of civilians lived. "They're going to attack the outpost," Samantha cried. The Vanguard sensors showed the Krellin flagship charging all its weapons. It would fire in seconds, and the outpost had minimal defenses. "We can either pursue and finish Vogith, or intercept those weapons," Donovan said gravely. "We cannot do both." Powell didn't hesitate. "Protect the civilians. Always." "New course plotted," Jack confirmed. The Vanguard surged forward, engines straining as it raced to place itself between the Krellin ship and the defenseless outpost. "Brace for impact," Powell ordered as the Krellin weapons fired. The Vanguard shot forward, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. The massive ship moved with desperate speed, racing to place itself between the Krellin flagship and the civilian outpost. "We won't make it in time," Jack shouted. "We will," Powell insisted, gripping the arms of the command chair. The Krellin weapons fired. a barrage of red energy beams aimed at the defenseless outpost. At the last possible moment, the Vanguard slid into position, its shields flaring bright as they absorbed the full force of the attack. The ship shuddered violently. On the bridge, consoles sparked and crew members were thrown from their stations. Shield strength down to 42%, Donovan reported, her hologram flickering. Taking heavy damage to sections 12 through 19. Samantha worked frantically at her console. The reactor containment is struggling. We can't take another hit like that. Vogeth's face appeared on screen again, his sharp teeth showing in what passed for a smile among his kind. Noble sacrifice, humans. But pointless. We have more than enough firepower to destroy both you and the outpost. The Krellan flagship began charging its weapons again. Behind it, more Krellan ships appeared from jump points, reinforcements arriving to join their leader. We're outnumbered now, Jack said grimly. Powell looked around at his crew. They had fought bravely, but it seemed their luck had run out. Then he noticed Donovan's hologram staring at something only she could see. There is one option left, she said quietly. We can end this, but at a cost. What cost? Powell asked. The Sunforge cannon. She looked at him directly. Our final weapon. It will destroy the Krellan fleet, but the power requirements will overload our systems. You mean we'll be destroyed too, Powell said. Donovan nodded. Most likely. The ship might survive, but its consciousness, what I am, will not. Grawl stepped forward unexpectedly. I can help. I know where to manually stabilize the power flow to give you a better chance. It's still a suicide position, Donovan warned. I know, the Duranian said. I was wrong about human technology. Let me make amends. Jorak also stepped forward. I will assist as well. Powell shook his head. No, all of you will evacuate. That's an order. But sir, Jack began. No arguments, Powell cut him off. Get to the escape pods. Someone needs to tell this story. As the crew reluctantly prepared to evacuate, Powell remained on the bridge with Donovan. You should go too, Commander, she said. Not until everyone else is safe. He watched as the last evacuation pod indicators turned green. Now, let's finish this. The Vanguard systems groaned as power was diverted to the Sunforge cannon, a weapon so powerful it had been kept hidden even from the ship's own diagnostics until now. Cannon charging, Donovan reported. 75%, 90%, full charge achieved. On screen, they could see the Krellan ships forming up for a final attack. They had no idea what was coming. Target locked, Donovan said. Powell took a deep breath. Fire. From the front of the Vanguard, a beam of pure white energy erupted. It seemed to tear the very fabric of space as it lanced toward the Krellan fleet. When it hit Vogeth's flagship, the ship didn't simply explode, it disintegrated. The beam continued through it, catching 2 more ships before finally dissipating. The bridge systems began to overload immediately. Smoke filled the air as consoles exploded. Power core critical, Donovan shouted. You need to leave now. Powell nodded and ran for the last escape pod. As he reached it, he turned back to see Donovan's hologram standing at attention on the burning bridge. Thank you, Captain, he said. She smiled. The old guard stands ready, Commander. Always. As his pod launched into space, Powell looked back at the Vanguard. The massive ship was glowing from within, energy pouring from cracks in its hull. But somehow it was still firing at the remaining Krellan ships, still fighting. Then a blinding flash of light engulfed everything. When Powell could see again, both the Vanguard and the Krellan ships were gone. In their place was a swirling cloud of energy, pulsing with blue light. 6 months had passed since the battle. Commander Ethan Powell stood on the bridge of a new ship, the coalition vessel Harmony. It was the first true joint project between humans and alien races, designed with principles learned from studying the Vanguard. Powell looked around at his crew. Samantha Reed was now his chief engineer. Jack Murphy headed security. Even Jorak and Grawl had requested to serve under him. The experience had changed them all. "Captain," Samantha called from her station. "We're approaching the coordinates." Powell nodded. "Drop out of faster than light speed." The Harmony slowed, emerging in the very same system where the Vanguard had made its last stand. They had come back on a routine patrol, but Powell had insisted on checking the battle site one more time. After the battle, the Coalition had been forced to reevaluate their view of humanity. Human representatives had revealed that the Vanguard was never truly abandoned. It had been placed as a guardian, to be awakened when needed. There were others like it, hidden throughout human space. The news had sent shockwaves through the Coalition. Species that once looked down on primitive humans now regarded them with new respect, and a healthy dose of fear. "Anything on sensors?" Powell asked. "Nothing unusual," Jack replied from Tactical. "Just the same energy readings we've detected before." The swirling cloud of energy that remained after the Vanguard's disappearance had become a permanent fixture in this region of space. Scientists had studied it for months but couldn't explain what it was. "Wait," Jorak suddenly said. "I'm detecting something new. A small object, moving toward us." On the main screen, they saw a tiny probe appear from the energy cloud. It was unlike any design they had seen before. Not human, not Krellin, not any known Coalition species. "It's broadcasting," Grawl reported. "An old Earth language." Powell felt his heart skip a beat. "Put it through." Words appeared on the screen in English. "The old guard watches still." More data began streaming in. Detailed information about Krellin technology, movements, plans, maps of their territory, coordinates to their homeworld. "This is incredible," Samantha whispered. "This intelligence would take years to gather. Unless you existed outside normal space and time," Powell said quietly. As they downloaded the data, one final message appeared, marked for Powell personally. He opened it privately on his console. "Keep an eye on the old relics, Captain Powell. Sometimes the most powerful guardians are those that appear to sleep." It was signed simply, Captain Alice Donovan, UES Vanguard. Powell smiled. The Vanguard hadn't been destroyed that day. Somehow it had transcended, becoming something beyond their understanding. And it was still out there, still protecting humanity. When they returned to Coalition space, the intelligence they brought changed everything. Defenses were strengthened. New weapon systems were designed based on Vanguard technology. For the first time, the Coalition prepared to take the fight to the Krellins. The legend of the human warship that awoke when needed most spread throughout the galaxy. No longer did alien races mistake human restraint for weakness. No longer did they scoff at human technology as primitive. On the last day of their patrol, Powell stood alone on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He thought he saw a flicker of blue light in the distance, like a hologram winking at him. "Thank you, Captain Donovan," he said quietly. As the Harmony turned toward home, the crew didn't notice a strange reading on their long-range sensors. A massive ship, briefly appearing then vanishing again, following at a distance. Its design was unlike anything seen before, yet somehow familiar. The old Relic wasn't just a ship anymore. It had become something more. A guardian, a protector, a legend. And legends never truly die. They simply wait until they're needed again. #end